Facebook, and also now hello to you guys on YouTube. Just starting that up a little bit, a couple seconds behind here, but hello, it's Wednesday, June 9th, 2021, and I am located in Torrey Pines, up on the cliffs overlooking the Pacific Ocean behind me, and also you can see, let's see if you can see, yeah, you can see right there, or up there, let me see, there is La Jolla, and I was actually here later in the day, in the afternoon yesterday. It was a lot windier yesterday than it is this morning, but I had never seen so many people that were paragliding than yesterday. I've been here probably 10 times in my life, and this is the number one place I know in North America, I think it might be in the world, for paragliding. So there's a ton of people that come here to paraglide, but typically you will see maybe 2 or 3 people at a time. Well, yesterday there was probably 20 people that were out here paragliding, so it was spectacular to look at them. And it's just so neat because it's quiet. All they do is sit down in this seat, and then the wind whips them up, and then they simply go back and forth right in front of these cliffs and over the ocean and the sand and the beach. So just beautiful. And then down behind me here is called Black's Beach. Interestingly, I did I'll share, this is the cover basically where I took my picture for my first book, Restored to Freedom. I took that picture, it would have been back in, I think, 2014, something like that. I was here for a Morris Cerullo conference, which Morris Cerullo had passed away this last July of last year, but his headquarters is here in San Diego. And I took a picture of the sunset, and this became the cover for my book. I had no idea that it was eventually going to be the cover of it, but just a beautiful picture, Restored to Freedom. And if you haven't seen that book, obviously you can get the book on Amazon. So anyways, beautiful setting here. And it was about, I think, 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, I was doing a live from here, and I started walking down towards the beach. And as I get down to the beach, I start walking towards these surfers, and then all of a sudden I see this guy on the beach laying out with no clothes on. And I was like, uh-oh, I gotta shut down Facebook. I can't have nudity on my lives. And then I found out later it is the only nude beach in all of San Diego. And I'm like, really? It's on the cover of my book. Why, God, did you have me put this on the cover of the book? And he said, well, because when you are healed and you're delivered, there's nothing to hide anymore. You can be transparent. You can share the truth of who you used to be, how you behaved, and how you behave now, because you don't behave the same way anymore once you're healed and once you're delivered. So anyways, and then when I was here it would have been in December, I did my live. I'm not sure if you can see, I think you can, but there was like a hump, I don't know, behind me. There's a hump behind me somewhere down here that I was perched on that was very precarious, because if I would have slipped off to the left a couple of inches, I would have fallen about 25 feet, and then if I slipped off the other side, it would have been about 50 feet. So anyway, it's a very cool area. I love this place. It's got a special place, in my heart, and I just thoroughly enjoy San Diego. In fact, the La Jolla Cove with the seals and the sea lions were up here, was there yesterday, and they were there. There weren't as many as I normally had seen in the past, and then ended up having dinner down in the inner harbor of San Diego, where you can see, the large naval ships cross from the inner harbor, and you can see the skyline of San Diego. So anyway, I thoroughly enjoy traveling to San Diego and La Jolla and Torrey Pines. Torrey Pines Golf Course is located just on the other side of this Torrey Pines glider port. So anyways, topic of the day is, when is it time to end a relationship? And this applies to all different relationships. I tend to focus on marriages because the Lord wants to save marriages, but it does take two people. You understand that, because you can have one person that chooses to get delivered, and it's a win, yay, when they get delivered. But if you have a second person that they're married to, tends to be those that are harder to get delivered are those that have the Jezebel spirit, Jezebel and Leviathan, where they're very prideful, they're very controlling, they're very manipulative, very, they lie a lot, they gossip, and they've been wounded, and they've not been healed yet. They've not been honest with their own behavior, and they've got a lot of pride involved. Well, you don't have the authority to command the demons to leave from them if you're married to them. That's up to them. Do they want to be honest? Do they want to choose the truth and get set free? And again, we see a lot of couples around the world that have been both delivered. And the Ahabs are much easier to get healed and delivered than the people that struggle with the Jezebel spirit. But we focus on all kinds of demonic spirits. Demonic spirits will come upon a person when they get hurt, when they get wounded, normally when they grow up. So if you have been hurt and wounded by your father, some of the words your father has spoken to you, your mother, your step-parent, grandparents, anyone, any sexual violations that have been done to you, it's virtually impossible not to get the Jezebel spirit if you've had some sexual stuff. You've been touched, you've been molested, of course raped, even seeing pornography. If you're exposed to that, if someone touches you, it's really, really challenging not to pick up the demonic spirits. It's really impossible. Everyone's going to receive some type of wounding when they grow up. And the harsher the wounding, the more by your parent, your father, your mother, shouldn't be that way. But if they have not been healed, they haven't been delivered, then they will behave in ways that are demonic, that are not loving. So a lot of times people, they talk about, when they're in marriage, that God hates divorce. Yep, he does. He wants both to get delivered. But if one person refuses to get delivered, one person chooses to keep their demonic spirits and are controlling and manipulative and mean, and again, they don't have to yell and scream. A lot of times people think that, well, they have to do that. That's what real abuse is, emotional. Or some people think it's got to be physical or sexual. But all it takes is a person to say no to everything that you would like to do in your life, and only you can do what they want to do. If you want to go shopping and they say no, or if you want to go for a walk at the beach and they say no, or if you say, I want to go to a Christian conference and they say no, that's all it takes. That's called control in an unhealthy way. There's healthy control. Whether the Lord, if you're a parent and you're raising your children, you don't want them to run out in the street and get killed, so there's healthy control. But once you become an adult, there's an unhealthy control that are in most relationships. And again, you don't have to yell, you don't have to scream. There's people in the church that have these demonic spirits. Christians, yes, do have demons. We're supposed to take the thoughts captive, Paul said, and that's for a reason, because a lot of the thoughts are demonic. So I know there's a lot of people, if you're in a relationship where you're not married to them, it's a little easier to break free from the relationship. Not always. They could be your spiritual mentor, and they could be trying to control you, manipulate you, make you sit with them at church, make you wear certain clothes, make you do religious things, and want you to become their slave, essentially, and make you be their friend when they don't really have any other friends. There's unhealthy, spiritual, abusive relationships that can be challenging for a person to stand up for themselves and say, nope, I'm not going to come under you anymore. I'm not going to be abused by you, but you need to do it. A servant of the Lord must not strive, but be gentle in all their ways. So if a person's striving with you, condemning you, controlling you, accusing you, those are signs, red flags of people that are unhealthy, that you should not have a close relationship with. There are people that very few people that I will allow into my inner circle of my life, and if I do, they need to be healthy. If they have a lot of demonic stuff, they're going to try to control me, manipulate me, make me do what they want, accuse me of things That's not a healthy relationship. That would be a distant relationship. That would be one that I would be working with, trying to get set free and healed. So you need to choose your inner circle wisely. I know a lot of people have their mom or their dad in their inner circle, but their mom or their dad isn't healed, isn't delivered yet. So, Jesus, when he came, said he came for division and not for peace. And why is that? Well, because if you have a family of 5, it talks about in the Bible, 2 could choose to serve Jesus and 3 choose not to. So are you going to have a close relationship with those 3 that are not serving the Lord? Probably not, because their demonic spirits in them will try to influence you and pull you away from what the Lord wants to do in your life. So you may have to love some people from a distance, like from up here on top of the cliffs, and have your relationships that are unhealthy down there on the beach. And say, on occasion, I'll let you talk to me. On occasion, I'll read your text. But if they're continually trying to oppress you, control you, manipulate you, sometimes you may have to say, I love you, but I'm going to love you from afar, and I'm only going to visit you occasionally. I'm only going to talk to you occasionally. So, but what do you do when you're in a relationship with, say, a spouse? And I see this all the time. People that struggle more with the Jezebel and Leviathan spirits are extremely hard to get freed. Why? Because of their pride. They have extreme levels of pride. They were hurt when they're growing up. Pride comes in when you're hurt, and it tells you, I'm not going to be hurt again. I'm not going to let someone else take advantage of me. I'm going to make all the calls. I'm going to make all the decisions, and you're going to listen to me. So when they get married to a person, they get married to a person that they can control, a person that's easier to control, that would have the spirit of Ahab. You see that in probably 85% of relationships. You have one person that's the taker in the relationship. They want all the decisions as much as they can make. And you have one person that's the giver. Are you the giver or are you the taker? Typically those who are the takers are the Jezebels. They want their way all the time. And what I always say to people when it comes to trying to get them set free, again, always do what the Lord tells you to do, because every situation is going to be different. It's going to be unique. When I went through what I was going through, I remember I was given some counsel from a very well-known counselor and even some counseling groups and churches and ministries that most people would respect. And they told me, when I explained to them some of the abuse that I was enduring after several years of marriage, to leave. They said, God would never have you go through this. God would never. And God kept telling me otherwise. He said, yeah, stay. I want you to stay until I tell you otherwise. You need to stay in this. So some of you may be going through an extreme amount of abuse. It's not fun. Of course, if your life is in danger, you should seek shelter. I had a knife thrown at me, but it was in my direction. It wasn't directly thrown to hurt me. It was the intention of her to try to intimidate me and to show me that she could have thrown the knife at me, but she didn't. She missed me by 10 feet. And I was in the living room reading a book, and she was in the kitchen, and so it wasn't like my life was in danger. If it was, then the Lord would have had me excuse myself at that point earlier. But I stuck it out for 6 years, and it was pretty extreme. A lot of yelling, a lot of chasing me in the house, in hotel rooms, just erratic, crazy, demonic behavior. And I stayed in it because the Lord told me to. Now then one day, when it was after 6 years of enduring this, the Lord was getting ready to start taking me into doing some ministry, some local ministry in Indiana. And she did everything that she could to stop me from doing these. I had a meeting with a guy that was a local guy that had done ministry in Central America. He knew Vice President Quayle and some others, and she did everything she could to stop me from having this breakfast with the guy. And so finally push came to shove, and the Lord told me, when she tried to kick me out of my own bed, that was the final straw. I mean, there's many times I didn't come to sleep in my own bed because I slept somewhere else because I wanted to have peace, not get yelled at. But finally, the Lord told me, it's time to separate. And I gave her chances to repent. I gave her chances over and over and over and over and over, and most people would never have given that many, because it was extreme amount of control and abuse. So when I finally told her, I'm going to separate, she mocked me, didn't believe that I was going to. And I prayed about it. The Lord told me absolutely. And what the Lord told me in that critical moment that I made, the decision, after 6 years of extreme abuse, He told me, He said, Nelson, who are you going to serve? The demons in her or me? He said, if you choose to stay with her, you will have to come under those demons, because she will go off on you over and over again. You will never be able to do the ministry and the calling that I have for you. And there are ultimately going to be millions of lives that you will see the fruit of, that will be set free. And I don't know how many marriages, but tons. And so I prayed about it, and I didn't want to separate, but I had to. I had to live, and not die, because those demons were getting worse. They were not getting better. I was hoping that they would, but they didn't. And so I remember that day that I decided to make the separation, and I had called my good friend, my older friend Bob, and he agreed to let me live with him. I thought it would only be for like a day or maybe a week, and yet the whole church wouldn't support me that we were going to. They were supporting her. And of course there was a lot of Jezebel people that were there at that church that ultimately the Lord shut down. Again, the Lord spoke to me, gave me a dream about that church after, well, in fact, I did everything I could to not make the divorce easy. Gave her time to repent, and she wouldn't do it. So finally it ended up going to court, and then it ended up in a divorce. And then at that point the Lord started to bless me, started to open things up, open the doors. I started writing books, started to travel, and started seeing the fruit of the ministry. So I always tell and counsel people, when is it time to end a relationship? It's after you've given them time to change, to admit, to humble themselves. And you will know it, especially if you're the spouse, you will know it, because they will be humble. And again, we've seen people that have been set free and delivered, but it's an individual choice. So you can be like Jesus Christ Himself and love people, but if they refuse to admit the truth of what they have behaved like, and if they refuse to humble themselves before the Lord, then is the Lord going to lock you in to an abusive relationship for the rest of your life, and you do nothing for God? No, because you're going to have to answer to God. You can't just, there are going to be spouses that go up to heaven that have died, that have done nothing for God, and they'll tell the Lord, give the explanation, well, the reason I couldn't is because my spouse wouldn't let me. My spouse that had demons, I chose to listen to them and not listen to you. And that's a hard decision, but that's the truth. It is so true. And that's why I do what I do, is because I know what it's like. And as for me and my house, I will serve the Lord. And so it's true. The truth will set you free. And it's sad and it grieves me when people refuse to be honest. They continue to be having these behaviors that are Galatians 5:16-26. They are of the flesh, and they are not of God, such as envy and wrath and jealousy and sexual perversions and fornication and all these things that are not godly. That shows you, that they are more fleshly than they are spiritual, and they need to be healed and delivered. So God will tell you when it's time to separate, and if it's time to divorce. If you're in a marriage, God hates divorce, but He also hates abuse, and I've seen it. I saw one woman, I knew her and her husband, and she was abused at home. I did not know it. No one knew it at the church, because he talked very sweet and nicely in front of the church. But then his wife ended up dying of a brain tumor at age like 42, 43. And then he got remarried to a woman who was healthy, and within a year she became sick because of the constant verbal control and abuse. It's because he was sexually abused by his father. Never got delivered, never got healed. So the Lord does not expect you to be abused forever and ever and ever. Again, some people say, well, abuse, it's got to be physical, it's got to be sexual. No, emotional abuse. And the people that have that spirit of Jezebel are smart enough to realize that if they ever got to physical or sexual type of abuse, which sometimes it does broach on that. You know, there's scary things that people will do, but they know, the demons know that, okay, if I push them too much, then I might get in trouble. But they are so good at lying and so good at deceiving that even they can lie typically to a police officer and get out of things, or lie to a judge. So, anyway, every situation is unique. The Lord wants you to give them time to repent. Tell them to watch some of our videos, if they will. Show them to watch some of our testimonies on YouTube. Search for Nelson Schumann. You can see the playlists that I have, and I have video testimonies. And you'll be able to hear from men who had strong spirits of Jezebel that were delivered and saved their marriage. You'll hear from women that had it. You'll hear from children, you know, families. You know, the testimonies speak for themselves. And then have them watch some of my worldwide deliverance sessions and read some of the books. They can get freed, but they have to humble themselves. And most people are very, very prideful, very, very arrogant, and they don't want to do that. So if they refuse to, God will tell you when it's time to separate. And then when you do, oh my gosh, the freedom that you'll feel, the peace that you feel, you know, and what you'll normally do is, and I felt this and everybody else has felt this, is instead of feeling like you want to die and feeling tired and sick and beat up all the time emotionally, you will start to feel life come back to you, because you won't have all these negative demonic words being spoken over you. And you'll feel lighter, you'll feel happier, your joy will return, you'll be able to sleep at night without having someone go off on you for hours, and the joy of the Lord then will become your strength. And the Lord can then restore you. Now, that, you know, it could be that your spouse gets delivered. That's a great thing. If that happens, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Or they will lie about you, and they will lie viciously to everybody that you know, and you won't believe some of the people that will not talk to you anymore. It's a hard decision, but the Lord did speak about this. He came for division, and that is those who choose to serve Jesus must choose to serve Him and not serve their spouse if their spouse is behaving in demonic evil ways, where they have the fruit of the flesh in Galatians 5:16 through 26. So anyways, excited about what God is doing. We are seeing testimonies. In fact, that testimony that came in yesterday from a woman that came to Las Vegas this meeting, and she had gone through the breakthrough event that we had, healing and deliverance. And then at the end, a lot of the people wanted me to prophesy over them, so I gave them words. And I had seen her speaking, you know, in ministry. And it was the very next day that her pastor had called her and asked her to speak for like the first time. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is a quick manifesting in the physical of the prophetic word. So it's awesome when you're able to see the results that quickly. And I love to prophesy. In fact, this weekend up in Bernie, California, which is east of Redding, we're meeting Saturday at 1 o'clock, Sunday morning, I think it's at 10 o'clock, and then again maybe at 3. But me and Prophet Dennis Rainier will be there together, tag teaming and doing ministry. So we're excited about that. This is the second time that we've done ministry together. Come on out to Northern California. Again, if you have to drive a bunch, then do it. It's worth it. Hey, here comes a jet, a fighter plane from Miramar. Miramar, if you remember Top Gun, is located right close here in San Diego. And there's a couple of jets that are going by right now. You can hear their exhaust. I just heard the Lord, and He said He wants you, all of you, to have breakthroughs in your life by breaking free from the enemy's control over yourself, but also those in other people, so that you can launch like that jet did and take off. And then you can become a strong fighter for the Lord and be able to help set the captives free. So get freed, get healed, get delivered, and then have the time of your life. Enjoy yourself. The Lord wants you to. When you're healed and you're set free and you're delivered, oh my gosh, every day you do enjoy. You have fun. You don't worry about anything. You know, and that's how you really truly bring heaven to earth, is through pursuing healing and deliverance, and then walking out the gifts, and then loving people the way that you're supposed to. No more fruit of the flesh, no more jealousy and envy and control, manipulation, fear, anxiety. All you would have left is the fruit of the Spirit when you're delivered. So you have love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and faithfulness and self-control, gentleness. There's a lot of aircraft around here. Alrighty, well, I will let you guys go, and we'll see you on Facebook and YouTube. Alrighty, love ya. Bye-bye.